Hi, I'm Dr. Paul. My topic for today is tantrums and behavior challenges. This one is a tough one, folks, because I think as parents, if you're parenting a child who's given you a power struggle, you know it's tough. What I see most often in my practice, and I'm dealing with problem behaviors and tantrums virtually every day, sometimes several times a day, and the primary dynamic that creates the most trouble, and I'm not picking on you I don't want you to get defensive if what I say is at all threatening. That's not my intent. My intent is to impart a little bit of insight that perhaps could be helpful if you find yourself with that oppositional child, tantruming child, a child who won't listen, they won't do what you say, and in fact, they're demanding you the parent must do what the child says, or they're going to throw a fit. Folks, in your gut, you've got a sense that's not right. So, let's think about it from an infant standpoint. Your baby is just born, you're nursing, you're feeding, you're nurturing, you're cuddling, you're taking care of their every need. If they're crying, meet their need. This is not time to be training. Babies who have their needs met for the first 4 to 6 months, no questions asked. Just find out if they're hungry, find out if they're messy, dirty, wet diapers, cold, hot, they're helpless. So meet their every need. Those children, studies have found, they'll be more secure as infants and as toddlers. Those children will be more secure as toddlers than the ones who are sort of ignored, left to cry it out when they're just less than 4 to 6 months. Those babies don't have a clue why they're not having their needs met. So I have no qualms about just meet their needs. It gets tricky when you get past 6 to 12 months, somewhere in there. I'll ask you a question. Do you think it's okay for a parent to say no to something that child wants to do? Let's say they're 6 to 12 months old and they want to do something that you don't think is a good idea. Is it okay to say no and mean it and stick to it no matter what? I would say if your child was about to, if they're 6 to 9 months old, that's still a gray zone, but let's say they're about to touch the stove and burn themselves on a hot plate, or somehow fall down some stairs. Well, what you want to do at those ages, 6 to 9 to 12 months, is make the world they're in safe. So you don't have to have a lot of no's. In fact, the fewer no's, the fewer things that are off limits, the better, right? And the best way to parent a kid who's testing boundaries is called redirect. You just, wow, did you see? And the child who is about to do something they shouldn't have done is redirected. That's great parenting, folks. Now let's just say you've got a kid who's walking and starting to run, and they want to run into the street. Is it okay to say no and mean it? And actually, I might advise that your child learn that when you say no, you mean it, because sometimes you may not be right there to grab their hand and save them from running into the street. Remember, they don't understand danger yet. So that's just a practical but perhaps rare example of why your no needs to mean no. You want to limit the battles, but definitely have the authority. Do not be afraid. I have so many parents, oh my gosh, they just love their children so much. They want to meet every need, and they just don't want to upset them. And I know I've been there. I give an example. I ruined a couple of my kids. I would have worked all day. I was kind of exhausted, and I had to do some shopping on the way home. I picked my kids up from daycare or school or wherever, and we swing by the store. And on the checkout counter, there's candy and all this stuff. They put it there on purpose to torment us parents. And my kids start whining and begging, and most of the time I had the fortitude to say no. It wasn't a good idea. We were about to go home and fix a good dinner for them to be eating candy, for example. But every once in a while I gave in. Just weakness on my part. Parents, don't do that. Those kids who got that thing that they were just hoping, maybe if I whine and fuss enough, and intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful reinforcer of all. Why do you think people gamble? They're pulling that one-armed bandit, hoping, just feeding that machine, hoping they're going to get some cha-ching money. Well, it's no different with kids. Intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful of all. Mean it when you say no. Do not let your kids run riot over you. And I'll just give you a couple other examples. When kids get older, fast forward to when they're 8 years old, 10 years old, teenagers, and you've never said no to them and been able to enforce it. What are you going to do? I have examples within my own family of one child who had always been treated like an adult, and when they were in their early teens, it was impossible for the parent to say, no, you can't go and stay at your boyfriend's house overnight. They'd never said no to anything, basically. I've had two situations recently where a child, one was 8 and one was 18, threw such incredible tantrums. One broke multiple glass precious objects in the house, holes in walls. That was the 18-year-old. And the 8-year-old was so scary to the mom that she didn't dare say no for fear of being hurt. Now, folks, I understand there are children who are neurologically, I'll say, take severe autism, severe anxiety to the point where, the kids just, they decompensate. Those kids need to be, you need to have a mechanism where you can be safe, your child can be safe, but learn to be able to set boundaries while they're still young. Because if you wait until they're 8, 10, teenager, it's near impossible to now all of a sudden be the parent who puts the limits on. So appropriate limits starting at a young age. It's a complex topic. Do not be afraid to lovingly put some boundaries on your child, especially once they're past 9 to 12 months. Those kids who are just tantruming more and more, unless they're neurologically damaged in some way, they're probably getting something from it. Thanks for watching. Tough topic. I'm not sure I handled it that well. Give me some questions about it. We'll have a dialogue. Subscribe. Give us the likes to support the channel. And I appreciate your viewership. I'm Dr. Paul.